Hey everybody, I have a friend of mine here, Marguerite Walston, and her and her husband are from our sister church in Raleigh, and we were talking, and a couple of things struck me, Marguerite, and I asked her if she would share some of those with you because I thought it would be encouraging to all of you. And one of those was you made a career change later in life, right?
I did.
And I think there's probably some of you who are thinking, I don't know, what should I do? How do you know if it's time to make a career change? And so I just wondered if you would share with us how you knew to just step out, because you were in insurance for what, 17 years?
I was an insurance agent for 17 years. I had worked for large corporations. I worked for small mom and pops. I had several credentials within the field. I had a great customer base. And I say all that to say that things were going really well. I had a great boss. I had a great team of coworkers. We got along really well. I just felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. So it was a feeling. But in addition to that, I had worked with in our children's ministry for a long time, and I loved helping our kids that had special needs. Like,
wow.
That was my favorite thing. And I had taught preschool many years ago, and loved it. Never thought of it as a career, but just thought of it as something I enjoyed. So I think it was a culmination of things. God just kept nudging me. Little things would happen, and I would just get a nudge. And I really do think it was the Spirit that you should consider becoming a teacher.
You also shared about wise counsel and how you knew that it was God.
Yeah, I think I talked to a lot of people who were in the field to get feedback, who knew me and knew how I worked, and bounced it off my husband. And it does talk about in Proverbs that plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. And so I prayed about it. I talked to people who knew. I talked to my boss that I was working with. I talked to coworkers. I spread the net. Just to make sure that it was the right thing. And I've always found when God wants you to do something, He opens doors. He opened the door for me to have the support that I needed to pursue my degree at the time, because I was a mom. We had 2 boys. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a very easy time in life, which many of you understand. And to be a student and take on those responsibilities are difficult. It just, God blessed the efforts, and I really am grateful and appreciative of that.
And you don't look back on your years in insurance as a waste of time. You look at that more as a stepping stone. Is that right? Preparation for
Absolutely. I mean, when I was younger, in my early 20s, I would not have been a good teacher. I wouldn't have been gracious. I wouldn't have been as compassionate. And special ed, sure, you need to be knowledgeable about students, but there's so much of what you do that's from an interpersonal side. And people need to know that you believe in them and care of them, and that you can see past what you're seeing today. And so that hope and that vision. Insurance is all about working with different people and knowing how to show genuine interest in people who are different. Anybody in business, that's a big part of our skill set. But it's also understanding contracts and being able to relay complicated legalese to people. Well, an IEP is a contract. And so being able to explain that to the parents and any of the other stakeholders is huge. And so it was great.
Marguerite has a very calm and patient demeanor, because even recording this, I will tell you that it's taken us 4 devices to go ahead and record this video. And the entire time she's like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it's like, is it? Is it going to be okay? Because it doesn't feel like it. But if you're watching this, then in fact it is okay. So thank you for your calm and patient demeanor. I think it takes patience for anyone to be a teacher, let alone a special ed teacher, let alone during a pandemic when now you're teaching virtually, and her own sons, right, they're learning virtually while you're teaching virtually.
This is difficult, but at the same time, there's some great opportunities that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, and I think when we were talking too yesterday, this really stood out to me. you were sharing about a conversation you had with one of the parents, and I was so moved because I thought, wow, that mom was so discouraged before she spoke to you. And then how you, honestly, you just spoke life into her. You just breathed life and hope into this woman whose son she was so worried about. And it was very clear that you look at your profession, your career, as your ministry.
Oh, yes, definitely. I think nothing is for waste. You know, God talks about molding us, and James 1 is like one of my favorite passages because it says, "Consider it pure joy for the trials that you face in perseverance." And I don't think that's just for me. Time and time again, and I know you had this experience too, you go through something really difficult, and somewhere down the line, you're able to encourage somebody or give a word of encouragement. And so you have to have lived life and allowed God to help comfort you so that you can meet the needs of other people.
Thank you, Marguerite. It reminds me of Colossians 4:6, which says, "Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so you may know how to answer everyone." And today, I'm quite confident you breathed life into moms out there. Everybody, we hope you have a great week.